certain positions within the society, and that directly affects how you you interact with those people. So, for example, you might say if you're more likely to have a few crosswords with a beggar on the street or a clerk in a shop than you are with a police officer. You may be a little more reluctant to do that, and you just by the uniform, and even though they're a stranger, it detects the interaction. Like did we put in certain talismans or ways of allowing us to understand where strangers fit in society and how we should interact with them. So also, and patriotism and religion are also important because they work with the tools that are fundamental to us in the sense of so we can identify patriotism. It helps us identify with our tribe in the sense that we actually then have a social group that we feel it gives us a sense of belonging, like we are Canadians. And religion also then, and these figures of these also sort of, religion also sort of gives us those guidelines. And there's that idea of like there's this big elder in the sky who's watching what we're doing. Just like in a small tribal group, there was an elder who was probably watching to make sure that we weren't misbehaving within our social community. So we invented a visible sky man to make sure everyone's behaving. So you can see there's a utility in that, and then there's this evolution. There's this refitting of the fundamental systems that we have that biology's already given us. So, but that's not the end of it, because after we go so far with that, after we have these states, technology didn't stop there. But we had communication and trade increased, and populations grew even larger, and suddenly states weren't good enough anymore. There was too much interaction between states, and then we needed to retrofit our system a bit more. We had to come up with new ethical innovations, and this is, I think, where it starts out. This results in the early humanism and the human life sanctity morals. So this idea, instead of just of love thy neighbor, meaning like literally your neighbor or the other members of your state or your tribe or your group, instead it's just an extension that no, all human life is sacred. And all human beings are worthy of respect, and we're all in this together. And that was, that was facilitated by the technology that we had. So it's sort of, people may have had those ideas before, but in order for them to catch on, people had to see the necessity. Okay? So I wanted to talk a little bit now about different types. Like I talked a bit about moral heuristics, and I sort of built this idea that we have the morals or these rules of thumb that let us navigate the ethical problem space. But I want to talk about some of the categorizations that ethicists have for these different types of morals or rules of thumb that we've developed over the course of human history. So there's deontological systems, or rule-based systems, and this is your Ten Commandments stuff. For example, there's much more sophisticated versions now, but the idea of this list of things one shouldn't do or ought to do. So it's very much it's a rule-based system. If you are in situation X, then you should do Y, or you should do whatever you want, but definitely don't do Z. So that's sort of some of the earlier ethical systems. Now something that's relatively new in the innovation of things are consequentialist or utilitarian systems, which instead of actually just looking at giving you rules or guidelines, do this or don't do this, and not explaining really why, besides that there's some figure or some authority that is telling you that wants you to behave this way. It looks instead at the consequences of your actions specifically, and you then try and foresee the consequences and do what brings about the best consequences. Utilitarianism looks at not only your own good, but the whole good of the society. So the idea is that you're trying to maximize people's pleasure, or maximize pleasure and minimize suffering. But pleasure in this case is sort of like very loosely defined. So we're not talking about just the purely hedonistic or passionate pleasure, but also just the good life, like the idea of people's satisfaction with their lives and things. And finally, and this is something that's it's an older system, but it's coming back into vogue, and this is the idea of a virtue-based system. So instead of like a deontological system where you tell people what they can or can't do, a virtue-based system is you try and culture in people certain traits, or you have people try and build themselves up to be a certain kind of archetypal person. So you should try and be an honorable person, or a pious person, or a jovial person. You choose these traits and then you try and cultivate them in people. A learned person. Yeah. So again, it's sort of like it's like the deontological system in the sense that you're not really looking at outcomes. So being like a truthful person may get you into trouble sometimes, but but it may be a good way. But the virtue-based system would say, encourage you, just try to aspire to that ideal. Okay. So getting on to secular ethics. I haven't really talked too much about the secularism. I've actually sort of been tooting the horn of religion a little bit, but I'm going to feel my atheist side. Yeah, don't worry. So why are secular ethics necessary for the 21st century? So I actually sort of wrote it up here. Basically, the idea is that the dogmatic systems that are based on relatively static problem spaces aren't going to fly anymore. Because one of the big things that's coming with the 21st century is that things are just changing very quickly now. The way our society forms is the rate of change of our society, and we talked about this a little more in later slides, is increasing. And we can't expect these same old rules to keep on working. They actually, there's all sorts of things that are coming up now. For example, test tube babies. So we have we can sustain life indefinitely on respirators. All these situations that goat farmers living in the desert 2,000 years ago just had no reckoning of, right? We actually have all these issues now, and one of the big weaknesses of a deontological system is that you have no way of accounting for radical changes in the environment, or radical changes in the social situation. You have this one rule book that you got to stick to the rule book. It's very, but we do see religious people. They tend to sort of